Welcome. I'm Madhu Vishwanathan, and we are continuing our interactive sessions from the University of Illinois. We are in a conference room at the Business and Structural Facility at the University of Illinois. We are approaching the end of our time together with a week to go. This means looking back and looking forward, reflecting on what we've learned and how we will use the insights as we move forward. Week 8 will have broad assignments to allow you the latitude to step back. For the projects, deadline for the online poster presentation is March 5th. You can use any system to place the presentation online. After you've submitted the poster via the project submission line in week 8, you can create a link to the presentation in the project forum. This will allow other participants to see and vote on the proposals and post questions or comments. With respect to the quizzes, we want to give you the following assurance. If there is any ambiguity because of the wording of the questions, we will make sure that acceptable answers are given points. And in the last week of our course, we will have some information for you to keep this community and marketplace of ideas going. Thank you for your contributions in week 7. I am particularly grateful for the comments about marketplace literacy. The more we shine light on these endeavors, the more we can improve them. I think a learning mindset is very important here, both at the individual and the organizational level, to take our experiences and lack of success as ways of gaining insights to shape our future endeavors. I have a couple of observations from my recent visit to Tanzania, my third in the last year. About a year ago, we spent a day with the Maasai tribe, hosted by Oikos East Africa, an organization focused on conservation. I remember the evening in the forest where we were meeting with about 40 Maasai youth. One of them asked me to help them, as we were from a great university and they were living in such poverty. I replied that I needed to be a student first. This interaction stayed with me. We returned to Tanzania last June, spending our time listening and learning and trying out a couple of sessions on marketplace literacy. In one session, we set up a simulated shopping environment and really cheated our participants, learning about their vulnerabilities and their strengths. I was left with the impression of how gullible and innocent people here were when compared to other communities we had worked with. Maria Jones from our Coursera team continued our work last July by offering additional sessions. And the next time I met the same people was a few days ago. This time, in addition to trying out a few exercises, I asked them if our education had been of any help. I was honestly stunned to see how much they had done with the little we had shared with them through our sessions. Participants spoke of how they had started income-generating activities and how they had become more informed customers. One woman related how she had a pillow and mattress for the first time in her life, and another explained how she is now able to feed her children better. Two men described how they coordinate a presence at buyer and seller markets to buy only when they know they can sell at a profit. I asked why they did not do this before the education. They said they did not have the knowledge. Their stories were truly heartwarming to hear, reminding us of why we do what we do. These stories also highlight the responsibility we have to first of all do no harm and then to try to do some good. With education, I find it so important to conduct sessions myself and get a sense of our participants. I think education is about building relationships and cannot be reduced to a transaction. I find these opportunities for face-to-face interactions invaluable. I met a number of people deeply committed to their communities. Peter Luswata, who is a farmer from Uganda, went from having a 1-acre farm to 75 acres in about 7 years. What is unique about him is a search for ways to help the community around him, addressing a range of issues from agriculture to education and micro-entrepreneurship. He's an entrepreneur through and through, seeing opportunities and resources where others see problems. I encourage you to learn about the Uganda Rural Community Support Foundation at ugandarural.org. Another person I've had the privilege of learning from in the last year is Ramadani Kupaza, Director of Oikos East Africa. We will have an interview with him available to you shortly.
I want to highlight the importance of the projects that have been started. Not everybody has done a project, but the people who has put a lot of effort in them, and so we have asked them to share the projects with the community. The projects, the way the projects were submitted through the project milestones didn't let the rest of the course see them. but some of you were evaluators of different steps within the project. So that you have the opportunity to see the end of their projects, we have asked them to share in a forum. That forum is going to be available. It is available already, but the project proposals will be posted as they submit the projects to the program, and then you're going to start seeing their proposals, and they will be available to all participants in Coursera. We encourage you, those that are viewers of the projects, those that did not start the project proposal, to read them, think about the contribution that they can make to their communities, and give good responses in terms of being good critical reviewers. Provide comments that can help them improve, or even if you think you're close to the settings or interested in helping them, volunteer somehow. I think that this is a great way to get that community going. And this is not just for those that worked in the projects, but it's also for everybody that has participated in this course.
Thank you, Norma. Srini, any comments at this point as you see the course evolve?
No, it's been wonderful to watch the course progress, the participation, and it's been a totally gratifying experience so far. And we look forward to continued association with everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For me, the depth of contribution has been just amazing to watch. I mean, everybody is there to learn, and every contribution is so sincere. So it's really been moving, and that's where we'll work hard to keep this kind of a community going, share ideas with you, and learn from you as well. Now, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about our recent experience, and also talk about some of the issues that you are raising in the discussion forums. Srini was with me on the previous 2 trips to Tanzania, and for us it was very interesting to see how each subsistence context is different. There are subsistence marketplaces and there are subsistence marketplaces. And while we can generalize and say, you know, there are urban communities, semi-urban, semi-rural, rural, tribal communities, and so on, as a continuum, just to simplify things, it's fascinating to see these communities in Tanzania as well. So Srini, as you look back on your experiences in different continents, and particularly in South India, what are some similarities and contrasts that you felt in our listening and learning in Tanzania? That's one question I had for you. And while you think about the answer to that, I also wanted to mention what was striking were the number of people who are deeply committed to their communities in Tanzania. It was very clear that they themselves had experienced poverty and wanted to find a way to give back, even if they had moved to a lower middle class or a middle class status. So they are, in terms of generation, they are not 1 or 2 generations removed from poverty, many of the people that we met. And their commitment to the community, to me, was amazing. Literally, you know, every person I got into a long conversation with was telling me some different way in which they were giving back to the community, either as volunteers or, in one case, Reggie, who was leading our logistics team, was telling us about how he takes a lot of tourists on safaris, but he would very much like to create a safari that's affordable for the people there, because they don't get to see the same safaris that tourists from across the world see. And so he has this concept of trying to do something that's affordable, that gets people to learn about their own country. That was another example of somebody who's doing a lot of good in his own community in a number of different ways. So Srini, what do you think? What are some similarities? What are some contrasts?
In terms of similarities, the constraints are similar across contexts. But one thing that I've seen is the reaction to these constraints. People come up with solutions which are social, people getting together, starting savings mechanisms within the urban slum or village to meet their requirements. There are places in tribal communities where people start using mobile phones to coordinate their marketplace activities. So I think the reactions, the coping mechanisms tend to vary across different contexts. One difference I've seen between rural Tamil Nadu, where I've worked quite a bit, and the US, is the impact of social support. I think in an urban slum, for example, you interact with a seller who himself might be low literate, low income, and you're able to exchange information with them, talk to them, and figure out what would be a best thing for you to buy. In the US, I think it's more of an interaction with an institution. So if you're a low income, low literate buyer, you go to a Walmart or some kind of an organization. It's more an institution versus buyer relationship, which is one key difference that I've found.
No, that's very interesting. My next question is for Norma, which is with her vast experience with e-learning, I wanted to get a sense from her of how is e-learning and this kind of creation of this course that she has been so deeply involved in different for this topic compared to a lot of other topics where she has created these learning experiences. And I'm going to give Norma a couple of minutes to think about this as I'm really asking them questions right now. But going back to the broader issue here, I think it's so important to get a sense of the similarities and differences across different contexts. There are some things we hope that we learn and generalize, and certainly we've talked about it before, the aspects of thinking. I'm reminded of buying the cheapest in the US versus buying the largest in Tanzania and so on. So I think there are a lot of these similarities and differences. When I went into this context a year ago, and particularly in June, when Srini and I, created this simulation where we were just running these shops and cheating people, I was left with the impression that we really need to just focus on the consumer side. We interviewed a woman who was 62 years old who first saw a formal marketplace on the main road when she was 50 years old. And so given the setting, I felt that, with our own experience running an educational session, we should focus on customer literacy. Now, we went ahead and did a few other sessions on entrepreneurial literacy as well. But I have to say, I was so stunned by what I saw in February, because it was really a few sessions, and then people were hopefully applying what they learned. And 6-7 months have gone by. And then for them to come and tell us this was very, very good to hear. Now, we really believe that this is why in this kind of education, it's very important to allow time for people to quote unquote do their homework, apply the things they're learning in real life, and then come back for the next sessions. And in fact, that's how we have structured things approximately in India as well. But nevertheless, I was struck by how much they did with the little that we offered them. I'm always wondering about this because our whole approach to marketplace literacy starts with the understanding, the broader understanding, the why. We don't start with the what. We do want to cover the how, but we want to cover the why. And as I've mentioned before, that means getting people to think beyond the here and now and to think of this abstraction called a business when they are used to the human one-to-one kinds of interactions. So when it works, it's very good to see, because what we have to offer is the somewhat abstract education. It's not like we have a technical device over there, or even that we are teaching a specific livelihood. It's this broader thing. And so I always worry about whether it's going to work and so on. And of course, that also depends on the constraints that people face. Now, here was a community where the constraints were so extreme. But nevertheless, from their point of view, I think whatever we had to offer moved them up quite a bit as well because of where they were in their constraints. Now, you should certainly look at this as a live case. We've been at this for about a year. We will certainly share our progress or lack of progress with you because we want to learn together. We want to learn together. If we fail, we want you to know why we failed. My goal now certainly is to see if we can create one day in that community, which is Marketplace Literacy Day, where we have these sessions. And so we go from about 30 people in our pilot to perhaps in the hundreds. But that's in the future, and I hope it's in the immediate future because we can build the momentum and move forward. But this is certainly something that we would look forward to sharing with you and holding our feet to the fire. Be determined to succeed, but we will see how it goes, and we will share the learning with you as well. It is so hard to come away and think about the people we left behind. Literally, in many ways, the moment we get to a certain place, we open the faucet and the water flows out and we take everything around us for granted. But then we go back to the people whom we met. These are all things that are luxuries for them, having water, having clean water, and so on. And so it's so important to keep that in mind as well. And I'm certainly looking forward to my next trip to Africa. So let me turn things over to Norma, who has done so much for us in the e-learning sphere, and ask her how she thinks this topic, this course, this community, these discussions have been different in her experience. Norma?
It has been different because we have been creating e-learning for college courses for a long time now, and this definitely this course has been, the outreach has been one of the main differences. It's not just college students taking courses for credit. This is people that came behind an interest, the interest of learning about the topic, and that gives e-learning a big challenge, because we are used to a controlled environment in the sense that we know what type of access the people that we reach have. In the case of this course, and thanks to the platform that we have been using, we have been able to reach people all over the world, and everything has been smooth in terms of technology. And we, and when I say we, I mean people that work in e-learning like myself. Our goal is to make the technology transparent. We don't want the technology to be between the content and the learner. And in this case, it has been working very well for all of us. We have seen the contributions of the participants, very rich contributions, and very few, almost no complaints about I wasn't able to do this or to see that because the technology was a problem. The other thing that is important is that it allowed us to see levels of digital literacy all over the world. And it has been amazing to see how much people from different parts of the world can contribute with different sources and different ways of using devices. We have seen videos, pictures, multiple formats sharing, and they have all been of excellent quality, which means that now we not only have the content that was prepared for this course, but we have a content that has been contributed by the community. And with the agreement of those that contributed that content, we will be able to share that with others that will come to this course in upcoming offerings. So the contribution from the community and the outreach that the course has been able to have are probably two of the most important differences between what we were doing with this course before, that was just for college students, and now that is for the world. Last, I want to say that the way we are managing this course and the way that we are reaching people has or is changing the relationship of higher education with the communities, with communities that we would never reach in our just being in Illinois. We're reaching the world, and so the relationship with knowledge, bringing education to others in a way that it can be applied in the same, in different contexts, but in the same formats that we have applied it. And also the distribution of the knowledge distribution in terms of formats. We are able to distribute and share knowledge also in text and through an e-text that reflects all the work that was put into this course before the course started, and people all over the world have access to that. And we are hoping that we will be able to do this in more languages. Right now we have a very active community of Spanish speakers and English speakers and people from the rest of the world who speak English. But we hope that we can caption and have more contributions in other languages so that you feel more confident when you want to read and you're not sure if English is not your first language.
Great. Thank you, Norma. I must say it's a privilege to work with you, and it's a privilege to work with Srini as well. We will have our video interview from Tanzania up very soon. As you can see, we are thinking a lot about what to do after the course, and we will have more information for you in about a week. It's certainly been a privilege, and we want to make sure that this community keeps going. So thank you very much, and we will see you soon.